Sorry about that, folks. Had some technical difficulties related to my account and for Scythe, but we're resolved now. So right now we have Saxony looking at an encounter. Which one will they pick? Who knows? This break for encounters is brought to you by Chenga's Choice Cat Food. From the frozen rails of the Roosevelt Union comes the only cat food fish enough for a tiger. Chenga's Choice, packed with protein, powered by pride. If your cat doesn't roar, it will now. So I've pulled up Saxony's mat down here at the bottom. These expansion mats, both innovative and militant, are very powerful because the most expensive resource, wood, is also the one least used in the game. The fact that both mechs and food are only cost of 3 to start with makes these mats very powerful. All right, Roosevlt's turn. Let's see what was picked on that encounter. Oh, the first option was picked, 2 power and 1 popularity. Roosevlt's moving, spreading out here. Let's get caught up here. Oh. They have picked up the produce on 3 hexes upgrade, which explains why they're spreading out. We'll see if that move pays off for them. Looks like that was the only upgrade that they've taken so far. Here we have Crimea doing an enlist. This is a very popular action for Crimea because of their faction ability Coercion, which lets you spend 1 combat card instead of 1 resource every turn. Alright, and over to Saxony, we got a underpass mech deployed. And back over to Roosevelt. And Roosevelt did a produce on all 3 hexes. Crimea did 2 moves and a mech deploy. And of course it's the speed mech that lets Crimea move the workers from the town to both the mountain and the field to get those workers where they need to be quickly. Saxony's doing a move over to Saxony's favorite mountain for that encounter, and that's also right next to a tunnel and the village tunnel specifically, so Saxony can basically move his base over to that place and produce in a region that's a little more convenient to a farm. And we have another encounter pulled up here. I'm not sure what we're going to get Saxony to pick, but this encounter is brought to you by Carr, Sky High Bird Feed. Crimean courier Zira trusts only one thing to keep Carr soaring across the steppe. Car's sky-high bird feed. Light, nutritious, and perfect for long-distance espionage. Feed the flight. Welcome, Dia, to my stream here. I don't remember your name from the tournament, but maybe your Twitch handle doesn't match your Discord handle. So welcome. Hope you're enjoying it. I'll try to keep the dead air to a minimum here. Let me know if you can see the bids okay. They'll probably show it better. I'll move them down just a little bit, see if that helps. All right, paying $4 to deploy a mech. Helping get those mechs out early. That's the Riverwalk mech that was deployed. Back over to Roosviet. Now we have a bolster and deploy mech. Excellent. That's also the Riverwalk mech. And let's see what Crimea is going to do. You have 0 stars on the board so far. And I say that right before Crimea deploys their worker star, deploys all their workers. Saxony's getting very close to that mech star with the disarm mech being deployed. And Rusviet appears to be intentionally avoiding that worker star just to avoid paying those coins probably. Oh, we have another encounter. This encounter is brought to you by Nacht und Tag's Working Dog Chow. When Gunther marches, Nacht and Tag march with him. Fuel your loyal companions with Working Dog Chow, built for stamina, strength, and the occasional Saxon victory howl. That first option is actually really good for Roosviet, but they're going with the last one, which is also really good. Actually, both help accomplish the recruit star. Interesting. The upgrade card was chosen as the first one. It's not a tactic I see too often. Usually people pick the enlist column for first. That way their next 3 enlists net them a combat card. But maybe there's something they know that I don't. These players are all ranked much higher than I am, so I will defer to their expertise. let's see here. Oh, that was another enlist by Crimea. The upgrade enlist. And that's their third one, which is how I normally do things. Saxony's doing a move. Spreading out a little bit. Oh, and going to the factory. By moving the mech to the metal, that enabled the hero to move to the factory with just one more extra move. That's a nice little trick there. Well done. Factory card. What will get picked? This factory card is brought to you by Tesla's Precision Metalworks. Need metal? Get Tesla Metalworks. Forged with precision, tested by mechs, approved by engineers who don't have time for breakdowns. Tesla, because your empire deserves better steel. Oh, and they've achieved a objective. Well done. And this is a second objective. This is only possible for Saxony. Saxony has their Dominate special ability where they can achieve both of their objectives as well as unlimited combats. This puts them in the lead at 3 stars. If we look at the score, I know it's a little early, but Saxony is in the lead so far, not counting the discounts and the scenario coin penalty or anything like that just yet. But in terms of the raw game stat. Oh, and we had an enlist by Rusviet. They chose the enlist bonus. Maybe that first upgrade bonus was a mistake. I don't know. Crimea is also enlisting, and no, I'm sorry, they're not enlisting. They're moving and taking an encounter. This encounter is brought to you by Wojtek's Medic Grade Trail Snacks. Polonia's bravest bear carries medical supplies and a secret stash of Wojtek's medical grade trail snacks. High energy bites for soldiers, scouts, and anyone who needs to keep moving. Well, that's an interesting choice. They already have a worker, so that just got them 2 resources. But if that let them take their bottom action, then perhaps it was worth it. It did not. Interesting. But they don't have an easy way to get oil, so. Wait, am I looking at the wrong map? Well, they deployed a mech, unlocked a river walk, and then perhaps on their next turn they will bolster and use that oil for an upgrade. Although they're short 1, so perhaps not. Alright, and we have Saxony producing more workers. I don't like the objective cards that limit the number of workers you can get. I think they can really hamper your economy, but Saxony's got 3 stars already, so I really can't be judging them. But we'll see if the possibly slower start that they've had so far enables the other players to catch up. bottom action is to deploy a mech, but they already have 4 mechs. Oh, it's Roosev's turn now. Okay. You know, I'm going to turn on the game noise. Alright, we've got to move to the metal. 2 workers to metal. Which means that every time they produce, they can also then produce a mech on their next turn. Oh, and they performed an upgrade of bolster and deploy, so those mechs get even cheaper. And they get the combat power, 3 points of combat power instead of 2. That's my favorite upgrade right there for that mat. And Crimea just did a quick produce. Over to Saxony. Saxony doesn't have a lot of power just yet. And with their... Oh, an encounter, all right. Are they also going to... They'll probably keep the workers there. Because one more produce action there, and they'll get their people star. And they'll be at 4 stars. And they're making sure to grab all of the mines. Let's see here. What are they going to choose? They don't have any recruits yet. Oh, so 2 oil and 1 popularity. That helps get them to that 2nd tier. Both Saxony and Crimea could possibly achieve that 2nd tier. I don't think Roosevelt will be going for there. But they did a produce. And they're doing a recruit, or enlistment. Their deploy. Yep. And gaining their combat power bonus. What is Crimea going to do? They're sitting on a pretty good pile of resources. They have 1 enlist left. Oh, combat. All right. Are they going to move a mech as well? Now, I got to be careful combating Saxony on mines. They have that disarm ability that takes away 2 combat power, which will drop Crimea down to 4. Yeah, so they're going to go ahead and move out with another mech. That way they can play 2 combat cards. As expected, there's that power loss. This combat brought to you by Bjorn and Max's Winter Rations. From the Nordic Kingdom's icy frontiers, Bjorn and Max Winter Rations. Slow release calories, frost-proof packaging, and a flavor that even a muskox approves. Survive the cold Nordic style. So that is Crimea's 2nd star, one of the 2 combat stars they can earn. They're pretty close to getting recruit star as well. And they deployed a mech, so they're 1 away from deploying their final mech as well. And that was their scout ability. They probably wish they'd had that before combat, but the scout ability lets them steal a card at the start of every combat. And here we have our 4th star from Saxony with the worker star. They're going to need to spread those workers out quickly. All three players have worker stars now. Rusviet's doing a deploy. Their People's Army mech that lets each of their workers also participate in battle if they're accompanying mechs by playing an additional combat card. One card regardless of the number of workers. Yep, and there's the enlist star for Saxony, or sorry, enlist star for Crimea. And over to Saxony. Let's take another look at those scores. Crimea is now in the lead, and Saxony's fallen to third place. Saxony typically does best when they can end the game very quickly. I think they tend to lag if the game extends on, but they're 2 points away from getting their combat, or rather their popularity up to the all-important tier 2. So, which they can spend 1 power to achieve. So they can do that pretty much any time with their factory card. That's going to be a game changer for them, I believe. It doesn't look like they're set up to achieve any other stars other than their combat stars, but they don't have a lot of combat power, so they're going to be cautious with that. I think they're going to try and spread these workers out a little bit and get that popularity up over 7. So that's probably what Saxony is going to do. And go for a combat here. Interesting. All right, so -2 power. That puts Crimea at 0 combat power. They can use 3 cards, and they just stole a card from Saxony. These special abilities coming into play. This combat's brought to you by Saxony Empire Mech Oil. Your mech deserves the best. Saxony Empire Mech Oil keeps gears silent, joints smooth, and enemies guessing. When Gunter deploys, he trusts only one brand. So should you. Looks like that paid off for Saxony, and Crimea gets another combat card. But Saxony is now at 1 power and 0 combat cards, possibly a risky, vulnerable position for them to be in. And they are now down to 2 popularity. So that second tier goal is probably no longer achievable. I'm not sure they were going for it in the first place. All right, Rusviet deployed their township mech, so they're probably going to head to the factory soon. Township lets them go from any town they control to the factory, and also between any towns they control if they control more than one, and the factory. It's very similar to the Saxony tunnel underpass ability. Now on to Crimea. Is Crimea going to get a combat star? It looks like they're going for their second combat star. move one character there. All they have to do is play a single 2-power combat card to win that victory. Oh, they played a 4. Maybe they didn't have any 2s left because of their coercion ability. So Crimea really needs to get their final mech, and then I'm not sure what how they're going to get their final star. If they can't get it through encounters, they don't have any other way to get that 6th star. And over to Saxony's turn. They've had some reversals here. Crimea is now 20 points ahead. It's a dominating lead. But no one is anywhere close to 2nd tier, so perhaps Saxony can catch up. Saxony's probably looking at their options and eyeing the board. And let me tell you about Upgrade Plus, the official improvement kit. Why settle for basic when you can upgrade Plus? Faster builds, smarter enlists, cleaner mechs. Trusted across the factions, from Olga's Rusviet labs to the Nordic forges. Upgrade Plus. Improve everything. I know that Rusviet's a fair amount behind, but they can get 2 stars in 2 turns. They need to do 1 produce action and then get their final recruit star, and then also they'll have the mech to metal to build their final mech. So that's probably what Rusviet's about to do. Oh, my mistake. They just built their final mech, got that mech star. Interestingly, that was their speed mech. And we can see that that bumped them up. They're only 10 points behind Crimea. Oh, and they've also got their combat power star, which sets them up very nicely to get 2 combat victories and end the game that way. Let's see what Crimea is going to do. They want to end the game before the other 2 catch up. So I don't know if they have an objective. Some objectives they cannot complete. For example, if they had an objective that requires them to have a certain number of workers or a maximum number of mechs, then those would no longer be possible for them. But if they got one of the easy location options, where they just have to be on 3 tunnels or 3 wood or 3 metal, then that's something that they might move out and do, and would be very difficult to stop them, because they haven't really shown too many indications of what that might be. They are on 2 oil right now. They could be going for 3. There's also a possibility they have the ability to get the objective that has 1 worker on all 5 basic region types. So they could have that. I don't know. We'll see, but that's going to be an important factor for them now that they have just 1 star remaining. And Saxony can end this at any time by initiating a combat that they win, but they don't want to do that until they have more of a presence on the board. They need to exit their home base and deploy those workers on as many hexes as they can across the board to bump that score up. Oh, and we have another encounter. This encounter is brought to you by Polonia Pure Wood Company. Anna and Wojtek choose Polonia Pure Wood for every campfire, barricade, and winter shelter. Clean burning, strong build, no splinters. Polonia Pure Wood, crafted for the frontier. And the benefit from that encounter was they paid 2 popularity and gained 2 combat cards and 3 power. That's an excellent choice for them. That's going to maybe dissuade some people from attacking them for another turn, so perhaps they can get a little more spread out. Back over to Rusviet. They have that star that they can produce their final enlistment. They might be waiting on that to achieve their 2 combats first to spread out. So there's an excellent chance we'll see some movement right now and some combat, because that 16 power is just sitting there going to waste. Might as well put it to some good use, capture that factory, and spread those workers out. And I just noticed Rusviet has not accomplished their objective either. They are on 3 terrain types. If they were the ones who have the 5 terrain objective card. There's the factory. If they have a factory-based objective, such as having the most power, the King of the Hill card, they'd certainly achieve it now. Although I think Saxony, that was one of Saxony's. Scroll back through the turn list here. Oh, we got combat. The combat has to be resolved before the factory card. But I'm sure that Saxony is going to just spend either 1 power or 1 combat card, depending on if they have a 2 on that card or not, and easily beat Rusviet. Rusviet did move a worker, so they can play 2 combat cards. They have 6 though, so they might not want to do that right now. They might, since the most that Saxony can do is 7 power. Rusviet might just simply play 7 power. Or if they've got a pair of 2s, they could play those. There's all kinds of ways that they can finagle this. But spending power is probably the best thing to do at this point in the game. Alright, here are the combat results. Rusviet won. Spent those 2 little cards. Defender didn't spend any power, which means they do not get a combat card for losing. So they're really desperate to hold on to what they have, apparently. All right, and then we got the factory card for Scythe. Let's see which one they pick. Probably the best factory card for them right now would be one that gives them an enlist. That way they can avoid paying the popularity, which they don't have. So if that's an option, and it's not the one that where you pay popularity for the enlist, then that's one they should take. You know what? I'm going to grab my stack of combat cards and just see what other ones they might be looking for. Well, they have 3 upgrades. There is a coin that lets you pay 2 coins to get an upgrade and a popularity. I don't see that as being very likely, though. There's one that lets you produce on 2 hexes for a coin and a combat card. So that's one way to get the food they need for their final enlistment. There's one where they could pay a combat card for 2 popularity, but now that I say that, that one hasn't been taken. Saxony has pay combat power for popularity. Oh, Scythe took pay 1 combat card, gain a worker and 2 coins. That's an interesting choice since they already have all their workers and coins are worth half for endgame scoring. On the other hand, combat cards are worth nothing for endgame scoring, so. And interestingly, Crimea has not picked up a factory card yet. And Crimea, all they need to do is achieve their objective. I grabbed the objective cards as well. You could have monopolized the market, which is 9 tokens of the same resource at the end of your turn. That could be why they traded for that. I don't know. And over to Saxony. They're probably going to move. They moved last turn, but they could use their factory card to do another move. I'm really not sure how Crimea is going to get their final star. Any of the advantage cards where you control 3 regions are definitely a possibility. If they have a Wolf Among Sheep, where you have your character, 1 mech, 1 worker, and 5 resources on the same territory, that's maybe something that they have. Or stockpile for winter, or monopolize the market, where you have to have 9 resources at the end of your turn. Those are probably what they have. A question from DIDS75. Saxony can go to 9, right? I'm not sure. 9. What is my question? Sorry, I don't know when that question was asked. Yep, Saxony's doing the factory action to spread out those workers and gain some popularity. I don't think they're actually going to go for 2nd tier, but who knows? This game's going a little bit longer than I expected, but these 3 know that they're all good enough to be in the top half of the tournament, and the star counts are really high, and I think they're all feeling the pressure of that at this moment. Right, Rusviet. Let's see. Oh, Garrett's actually on top right now. It's at 55 power. So that is interesting. They could be ending the game, although I think they want to get that their movement action is not over deploy, so they will probably take 1 more combat, and it looks like Saxony's positioned their workers to keep that from happening, although the tunnel system completely negates that advantage. They could, Rusviet could go for the wood that has the mech and worker on it of Saxony's. That would be a pretty easy way to go to get that using the mech that's on the wood tunnel in the northeast. That's probably the easiest combat star out there. And there's 0 popularity cost because Rusviet's already at 0. Sorry about me moving the screen. And the score is modified by removing half your coins. So good point about Crimea not being in the lead. With the, it's actually easier for you to see this since I'm on my desktop, but with the 10-point bid, Crimea is actually sitting at 40 minus 13, so that'd be 27 right now. And Rusviet is sitting at 53 minus 13, or yeah. So that would be 40. So Rusviet is beating Crimea right now. And Saxony is at 43 minus 1 is 42, minus 5 is 37. Let's see, missed some turns there. Rusviet's spreading out somewhat. Not a lot. And forcing a worker to retreat. Just for the territory, I think. Oh, and they achieved an objective. Oh, force a worker to retreat and still have 7 power. Which means all they need now is a combat power. They don't need that recruit at all. Yeah, looking pretty good for Rusviet right now. Oh, an upgrade for Crimea. Interesting. Saxony used their factory card last time, so they can use their triple move this time. Try and spread out. See, they're in a bit of a bind. Yeah, the problem with this player mat for Saxony is that the bolster action is over the build action, and that's not something that is done very often, building, I mean. And so that column is not used, which means Saxony tends to have low power. Perhaps if Saxony had gotten the focus just on upgrades and the recruits for the upgrades, they could have maybe gotten a lot of power that way, especially if they deployed the armory. Then they would be getting 2 combat power for every upgrade they do. That'd be a pretty effective way to get upgrades on this mat. Oh, and by the way, the order of the players on the bid list is the order that they're ranked, with Garrett being in the lead, followed by Donkey Kong, and then 22% being the lowest of the 3 players. In the initial 8 games, Garrett had 5 wins, Donkey Kong had 4 wins, and 22% had 3 wins. But the reason why the reason why 22% is in the double elimination bracket with only 3 wins is because his wins were against some of the more tough players out there. This delay is brought to you by MechMaster Lubricants. Whether you pilot a humble worker mech or a towering war machine, MechMaster Lubricants keeps every piston purring. Trusted from the Nordic fjords to the Saxony front. MechMaster, glide into victory. My favorite of the animal heroes is Polonia's Wojtek, which is the bear. And it's named after an actual bear that was in the Polish army in, I believe, World War II. So that is one of my favorite facts of all time, that a bear served in the army. He helped haul around supplies like heavy crates of ammunition, things that would take 2 or more guys to carry. He can just shoulder a whole crate of shells. And he smoked and was one of the guys. There was one time when they had trouble, the soldiers that adopted him had trouble getting him on a military transport boat because he wasn't officially in the army, so they enlisted him, and he actually made it up to the rank of corporal by the end of the war. Saxony in a combat. Interesting. Are they going to try to win this combat and end the game? Because if they are, they should be trying to go for the factory. And yes, Yeti, I think you're correct that whoever wins this combat causes the game to end. All right. All right, and so for final scores, we have Garrett with 59, but that's minus 13. Is 46, or yes, and then minus 0 is 46. Crimea with Donkey Kong, 48 minus 13 minus 10 is a loss for Donkey Kong. Yep, that's 25 for Crimea. And then Saxony has 43 minus 5 minus 1 is 37. Well done, Garrett. Now, since all 3 of these are high enough ranked to be in the double elimination bracket, this is not the end of the road for any of them. Garrett will remain in this bracket, the double elimination bracket, while Donkey Kong and 22% will go down to the lower end single elimination bracket. So they've got another game to play, and we'll see them later. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. And let's stay tuned for more Scythe action. This broadcast has been brought to you by Olga's Iron Strong Metal Bars. Rusviet engineer Olga doesn't compromise on steel. Her secret? Iron Strong Metal Bars. Smelted hot, forged bold, and ready for any battlefield invention. Build stronger, build smarter.